Test, test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Well, I guess that's working now.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm Kerry Martell here for the Yamhill Advocate with Erin.
Ochoa. Yes, Erin
Yes.
Ochoa.
And she is a parent who has a child in the Newberg public school system, and she's here to talk a little bit about her story related to it.
Okay, my son is 7 and he started kindergarten. He made it halfway through before the pandemic hit, and he had to go into virtual learning for the rest of his kindergarten year. And his kindergarten year was great, but last year when he was in first grade, I started noticing a lot of issues with the schools. I'd only volunteered once in his classroom, so I didn't have a really good feel on how things went in kindergarten all the time.
Mm-hmm.
During first grade, I witnessed a lot of things that I hadn't had a couple problems with. They were asking strange questions to him on video response, things marked on science, and they were asking him what seemed to be pretty racist stuff.
Could you give any type of examples, like at least one example?
Well, he was really excited because they were going to do a march right before school got canceled.
What kind of march?
For Martin Luther King Jr. And we didn't get to do that, so they started Black History Month in first grade during virtual learning, and he was really excited. But it kept on getting longer and longer, and they were putting the assignments under, they were putting them under science. And he was getting asked to do a video response on questions like, if there was a Black kid at the park, how would you make him feel welcome? And the teacher would like a video response for this. And I was always sitting there listening to his class. I know not all the parents had that opportunity to pay attention to what their kid was learning or being taught, but one of the little girls in his class asked the teacher if there was still racism, or not racism, but if there was still slavery. And the teacher hemmed and hawed for a couple of minutes, and finally she was like, well, not really. It's just a lot of things leading the kids to believe they're racist. My son was like, what does she want me to say? He's like, I would play with them. And he just really wasn't understanding the question, but I was understanding that it was not right. He was just confused.
Yeah, that sounds very confusing. You know, kids
Yeah.
don't have these beliefs
I was having
unless...
a hard time. Yeah, it's like, there's a kid on the playground. Well, if he likes tag, then he's going to be my friend. You know, it was leading them. It sounded a lot like it was leading them into the CRT curriculum. I noticed that a lot of the kids were getting praised, and a lot of the kids got more attention if they were the teacher's children, or if they had same-sex parents. And some other kids were constantly getting berated, and their private information was given over virtual learning, like they're home alone, or their latchkey kids, or their brother or sister helps them with their homework, and that they're missing a bunch of assignments. And it was constantly one child. And thankfully, I was friends with that child's parents, and I let them know. But the way the system's been, I didn't know if I was going to send them to school this year or not, because they were already dealing with the posters and the flags. And I had contacted the principals, the office secretaries at Dundee and Edwards, and I did not get a response back. But I figured since the school board was dealing with it, that it would, be okay. And it was left up to the mask mandate. If we were still in optional masks for school, I was going to go ahead and let them go and see what happened with the flags and the banners. But, here we are.
Here we are. So the principal for the two schools, the one in Dundee is which principal?
I don't remember his name. My son went there for half a year last year after we decided not to go back after the kids were allowed back in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember the one in Edwards either. I have short-term memory problems.
It's no big issue. But you spoke to them. You said
I spoke to the secretaries asking them to get back to me about the flags and the banners, and I never got any response.
How long ago was that?
When the Dundee principal was bragging about having all those signs up and made a post, it's been over a year now. Oh. I posted something on there and I called the secretary and I left my name and number and I never got a response back. And he didn't quite get the response he was looking for, so he immediately deleted the post within the day.
And the post was made on Facebook somewhere?
It was made on Facebook. It was made on the Dundee Elementary page about all the posters they had put up and the flags, the BLM and the pride flags and all the posters down the hallway in all the classrooms. And no one ever contacted me back about that.
Did you ever send emails to Superintendent Joe Morlock or anything?
No, I didn't send anything to Joe Morlock. My kid had only been in school 6 months, so I wasn't exactly sure how the process worked. So I just started listening to board meetings this year when the new board got elected, when they got sworn in.
I see. So I take it that you're supportive of the policy to prohibit politically divisive symbols from the school classrooms.
Yeah, I have 2 Caucasian children and I have a mixed child. So I'm not worried about my children experiencing hate in the Newberg school system anywhere but from the teachers at this point. I mean, I've watched minority children getting treated horribly by the teachers. And, if they're not BIPOC children, then that's not an issue. If they're not African American and white or African American, then it doesn't matter how they get treated. And I've seen quite a few of them being treated very poorly. I've heard a bunch of parents talking about how they had lost children in the school and the parents weren't even allowed inside to go find them. I've heard a lot of Hispanic parents saying that the staff at the schools say that the school board meetings aren't important. They don't need to attend. They don't need to be involved. It's all taken care of. I just think this is really one-sided.
It does sound extremely one-sided. I went to school, the Newberg system. Went to Babel Rush. I went to Central. I went to, I guess now it's Chehalem, but it was called Springbrook at the time. And I don't recall my parents ever being told they can't come into the class, into the campus after school to come get the kids. That was actually really common for parents to come in and get the kids when school was over. That seems really strange.
I went to Mabel Rush and Springbrook and Chehalem Valley and Newberg High School, my whole school career. And I would go pick up my friend's little sister from school. I mean, the way things are now, it's like they don't want you to see what's going on. And I was really surprised Robin got those pictures from the school of Chehalem Valley.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely not what they were doing when I was going to school there.
No, it was more focused on education.
And now it seems like they're really just focused on grooming these kids, getting them to be part of this political stuff for their own benefit.
Last year, Chehalem Valley had just barely over 50% of their children passing math. That's really concerning to me.
That's horrible. That's terrible. That's kind of ridiculous. Like, what are people paying for, and how hard? It's not like math has fundamentally changed the past couple decades. Like, why are they having difficulty teaching a curriculum that was successful in Newberg for generations?
I don't know.
Probably because the teachers aren't very good, would be my assumption. They're focused on critical race theory is what they're probably focused on, not on teaching academics.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you taking the time here to talk with me, Erin, about your story and your tale, and for being, brave to talk about this publicly. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for all you've been doing for us. Till then, I guess it's just homeschool for us, but I'm glad we have that option. Not all parents do.
I'm glad that you have that option as well. Thank you so much, Erin.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.